Okay, folks, it is 12:01 Eastern Time. We're going to get the webinar started today. Thank you for attending. To kick things off, today we're here to talk about defensible audits at scale. At scale will be kind of the most important part there, but defensible audits at scale, and really how auditor-governed and controlled AI can help our billing compliance auditors meet rising regulatory and payer pressure. So that's our topic for today. Before we get started, wanted to kind of go through a couple of housekeeping items. My name is Dana Finnegan. I'm the Senior Director of Market Strategy at MD Audit. MD Audit is sponsoring this webinar. We'll talk a little bit more about MD Audit in a moment. I've been with MD Audit about 10 years, had the pleasure of working in the billing compliance and in revenue cycle ecosystem with you all for a while now, learning about your everyday lives. And I think what we want to get across first is you'll definitely be receiving a copy of this deck, which is going to have some really great nuggets you can bring back to your program. You'll be getting a copy of the recording. There is going to be a poll at the beginning and the end, so please feel free to take part in those polls. We want to hear from you, the subject matter experts that are living this every day. And I also wanted to mention again that there's going to be great nuggets in this presentation that you can bring back to your programs. And I also want to just start off, I usually say this kind of at the end, but MD Audit's not here to really sell you anything today. We are a vendor, but we're in the trenches with you every day. And we really want to help make your lives better, your work lives better when dealing with all this payer scrutiny, because we know you're kind of caught in the middle of it. So let's kind of move on. A little bit about who we are, MD Audit. So we are a billing compliance and in revenue integrity enterprise-wide platform. We have over 30 years in your space. You can see here there's over 1.2 million providers being audited on our platform, close to 5,000 facilities. Just a lot of data that we deal with every day that we're going to present to you today in hopes of helping you gain a better understanding on how to fight payer scrutiny and denials, and how AI can be really transformative in your daily lives. And again, we know everybody's talking about AI, but we were going to give you our stance on it and how it can help you and how it's helping our auditors currently. A lot of our MD Audit community auditors are using AI to really combat that payer scrutiny that we've been talking about that is, off the charts right now. So that's a little bit about who we are. I think the last thing we would mention about who MD Audit is we have a nationwide footprint of billing compliance and revenue cycle folks using the platform, and there's solutions for the front, middle, and back of the revenue cycle. But again, not here to go through that today. We really want to kind of start off with a poll. So Joy is going to launch a poll that's going to ask you some general questions about how you're seeing the AI from your payers, and really, as they increasingly use that AI to scrutinize denials and in really payer audits, where you're seeing the greatest impact at your organization. So we're going to leave that up for a minute and kind of see where we go with it. Really appreciate you taking this time to do this. We really learn, again, a lot from you, the subject matter experts. So I'm going to kind of talk about this for a minute. The question, as you can see, is as payers increasingly use AI to scrutinize claims, where are you seeing the greatest impact? And we had listed out a bunch of things: accelerated denial rates, higher volume of payer audits coming externally, surge in documentation and records requests, just increased staff time, spending clean claims essentially. And then the other one is all of the above. So, and that's right now about 50% of it is all of the above. And that is absolutely tracking with what we are seeing is this absolute onslaught of your payers, both government and commercial, particularly Medicare Advantage, where they're not only doubling down on denials, but also sending you those pesky payer audits where they're looking to do clawbacks. and just a ton of RFI and medical necessity documentation requests. So, yep, 51% of you nailed it. It's all of the above. And again, we're going to take time to decompose a lot of this that's going on to show you really what's happening in the MD audit community with all of these different sections. So thank you for taking that poll. I think we're going to get going right now with some of the stats. So one of the things that we wanted to kind of get into is current industry headwinds. So what are some of the things that you in billing compliance are facing every day? Now, these stats come directly out of the MD audit community and what's going on in the real world. So the first thing is insurance companies of all business sectors are leading in the deployment of AI. So they are leading all other industries in using AI. And that's automating their audit strategies at an unprecedented scale. Just leads into unbelievable amounts of scrutiny of your claims. That's the first thing. And healthcare is traditionally a laggard in adopting technology. And we can see now insurance companies are using that to their advantage against you. The second big thing here was in January of 2025, where there was a massive Medicare Advantage investigation where they were able to uncover $50 billion in overpayments with different Medicare Advantage plans. So the Medicare Advantage is under an intense scrutiny. The plans are, but unfortunately, because of some of the plans fraud, waste, and abuse, that's trickling down to you, the folks that are trying to do the right things with billing compliantly and with high levels of accuracy and integrity. You can see as a follow-up to that, they really launched a very aggressive and expansive audits of all Medicare Advantage contracts and folks offering Medicare Advantage plans. And kind of the final rung of that is HCC audits in the MD audit community are up 102% in 2025, even more in 2026 so far. So really, again, been a huge adoption of AI by payers, but a lot of it being focused on the Medicare Advantage side of the world, which is why we're seeing our MD audit community doing a ton of HCC audits in both 2025 and 2026, because that's trickled down to you. Now, at the end of the day, what does this mean? It just means that payers are no longer doing random sampling. This is not being done by human staff at the payers. This is all being fed into very sophisticated AI technologies so they can vet out anomalous billing coming from your organizations in just a matter of seconds. So in your world, speed matters too. You can't be behind the 8 ball. You got to employ your own AI. We're going to talk about that and even give you a quick demo of what that looks like in your world, because you've got to really be on par with the payers and identify that risk first. So these are some of the trends we're seeing in the real world and within the MD audit community. Where I want to go next is we talked about them doubling down on denials as well as payer audits. So let's look at what's happening in the data, the MD audit community data, which is certainly being corroborated by what we're reading in Becker's and all of the different great sources out there. So denials are surging, 28%. So coding related denials, 2024 to 2025 have gone up 28%, just coding related. We all know that historically for so many years, the number one denial category has been authorizations, pre-cert, so on and so on at that beginning part of the revenue cycle. But now coding denials has surpassed that. Coding denials up 28%, huge surge. You can see right below that, Medicare Advantage requests for additional information and medical necessity documentation has gone up 390% within our community. So huge amounts doubling down on denials in record requests. In the middle, audit pressure intensifying. So Denials are one thing, but now the payers, both government and commercial, are really intensifying their external payer audits that are showing up at your back door via those ADRs, those pesky ADRs. We've seen that on average, at-risk revenue per customer in the MD audit community being about $19 million in 2025. And the number of actual accounts being scrutinized is up 30% as well. So when you're receiving these ADRs, they've gone from being, a handful of accounts to hundreds of accounts and hundreds of pages of accounts at risk. So not only denial surging, but intense pressure on those external payer audits. And in the third statistic that we're seeing here, which can be crippling to cash flow for your organizations, is processing delays. So on the professional side, it's gone up to 24 days just for original adjudication. And that's up from 15 days in 2024. On the hospital outpatient side, it's 41 days. So just for them to get that claim and process it is taking significantly longer. They're scrutinizing that immediately and keeping that adjudication and taking even longer. So at the end of the day, the importance of doing prospective audits, pre-bill scrutiny, because if these claims are taking this long just to adjudicate, it's really bad if these are denied, because it's taking 30, 60, 90, 120 and more days to receive that revenue. Your days in accounts receivable go through the roof. First pass pay rates are significantly decreased. This is a perfect storm of what the payers are doing via their deployment of AI. And you can see at the bottom, they're not slowing down. They're creating those cash flow crises. And at the same time saying, when we do audit you, you have to have defensible evidence trails to show that you're doing the right things. So a lot going on, and that, again, all comes from the MD audit nationwide footprint of data. Why manual audits and autonomous coding are really not enough. So the manual model, we've seen in our statistics that auditors can spend up to 60% of the time on just manual record retrieval, not judgment or education corrective action. It's a lot where they're just pulling sample sizes and going through hundreds of fields, for example, on an inpatient, outpatient claims, pro-fee claims, making sure everything is up to snuff. But it's too much time on manual efforts. And obviously the coverage, what you can get through is constrained by human capacity and just having very lean teams. We know you have very lean teams. Where autonomous coding, I think a lot of us feel that that's the holy grail. I mean, we're very positive about it. We're proponents of it, but it needs to be fully governed and QA'd, because it's not fully baked yet, despite what some autonomous coding vendors will tell you. It's not fully baked. And you own those coding decisions that those algorithms make. That still is in your purview of responsibility. Many times that liability is going to transfer to you, not the vendor that's supplying that autonomous coding engine. And provider versus payer AI. The provider often loses. It's not because you're not deploying AI correctly or whatever it may be. It's just payers, they have spent so much significant dollars on their AI. In providers, we hear this all the time. Most of the AI is being used in clinical settings. And then whatever isn't in a clinical setting then secondarily goes to the revenue cycle billing compliance ecosystem. So you're behind just organically because you have to provide good patient care and have good patient outcomes, where the payer doesn't have to worry about that. So they are going to be ahead. So manual audits and autonomous coding, not saying it's all bad, but it's not enough in the current payer ecosystem where, again, they're doubling down on denials and audits and all other types of things. Now, this is a slide that I think is really important. I talked about the MD audit community. What are they doing? What are our billing compliance auditors doing and revenue cycle folks doing to audit more with less? Well, the first piece that we saw was risk-based audits in 2025 and this is all between 2024 and 2025, and we see these same trends continue into 2026, is risk-based audits are up 25%. At the end of the day, risk-based audits means if I've got 1,000 physicians, I'm not going to audit all 1,000 and educate all 1,000. We can deploy analytics and benchmarking to say, of your 1,000 providers or your 100 providers, here's the 20% of them that are causing the systemic overpayments and underpayments. So risk-based audits, different technology and benchmarking and algorithms can be at your fingertips to really parse out those that need the education and corrective action to mitigate billing compliance issues and maximize revenue. So we see those skyrocketing. Pre-bill audits up 30%. So auditors and coders having great dialogue between those before those claims go out the door. Those are up 30%. So a combination of risk-based audits and prospective audits are keeping our community whole, or at least lockstep with payer scrutiny. Now those pre-bill audits, it asks you to hold claims. And they're not going to get out the door right away, but the decisions that are made between auditor and coder to send out clean claims on the first pass, even if they're held up, that just gives great outcomes into less denials, less days in AR, and constant cash flow. And that can be operationalized through technology as well. And you saw the HCC audits up 102%. That is just because you are getting caught in the crosshairs of what's been going on between the government, OIG, and CMS, and the Medicare Advantage plans. It's trickling down to you. So we see those going through the roof in the MD audit community. So you need ways to immediately pull those HCCs, version 24, version 28, and audit them as a risk-based audit, as a pre-bill audit, so you don't get caught in those crosshairs, as we talked about. So really, our folks are auditing far more volume without having to grow staff. And that's all through risk-based audits, pre-bill audits, and technology that's adopted and governed appropriately. All of these things intercept issues before claims go out to payers, reducing your audit exposure. Three pillars of defensible auditing. So this is not just something that MD Audit, the vendor, is kind of making up. This all comes through many conversations with CCOs in the billing compliance auditors that are in the trenches. So coverage at scale. We talked a little bit about that. No longer are the days of just retrospective auditing and seeing providers once a year. We're now seeing an awesome blend of retrospective and prospective auditing, even more of a blend going towards the prospective side of the world. So you got to ask yourself, am I still in the retrospective only mode? I need to start moving to the prospective way of auditing claims in my coders. And having that risk-based analytics where you should be able to, and I know it sounds like I'm simplifying it, but press an easy button and really have a risk ranking of your providers that are billing outside of normative ranges compared to CMS, compared to others, for example, in the MD audit community. Really just kind of a tick off list for you of who to audit first, second, third, and so on. That does exist, and that allows you to have coverage at scale. Defensibility, really what we mean by that is you need to have an audit trail because the payers are going to challenge you. So as you're auditing physicians and auditing coders and high-risk DRGs, there should be a way for you to be in a platform capturing all of this. So when you make a change to a DRG or a CPT or whatever it may be, that you're able to put in your audit findings, easily calculate accuracy rates, append documentation to the decisions you're making, link LCDs and NCDs to it, have that all captured within one host system. So if that ADR does show up or some other payer audit, you have all of those results and determinations that you're made in one place to say, hey, I'm going to stand behind what I audited. We're doing the right things here. And efficiency, this is where we're really going to get into the AI side of it. Along with having coverage at scale, defensible audit trails, you as an auditor, you in billing compliance, CCOs that are overseeing billing compliance programs, you need to arm your auditors with AI that can accelerate not only the record retrieval, getting the record to review, but to actually interrogate that record and help the auditor make the tough decisions they have to make. Have that AI interrogate the record and make suggestions. This was left off the claim and should have been billed. This was billed and shouldn't have been. There was no record of it in the documentation. So what that does is it allows auditors to spend time making more difficult judgment calls, not sorting through manual processes and all that administrative stuff that really takes the auditor away from their main job and in what their certification is. And it definitely doesn't leave time for them to go back and audit to do education and corrective action with their audience, providers and coders to mitigate this going forward. Really, what we've seen is cases, audits can be completed a third, up to a third, even more faster while improving accuracy. So we know there's a lot of vendors that are talking to you about AI. And I think what I want to say right off the bat is we're not trying to tell you how much to employ, how fast to employ. What we're saying is if employed and governed correctly, we can really help you reduce the amount of friction and kind of turbulence that you deal with on a daily basis from payers, from lean teams, and just making your everyday work life better. And this is just a quick visual where we're saying, health plans are deploying their AI. We've talked about that, denials, payer audits, unprecedented denial rates, all of that on the right-hand side. You may have some autonomous coding tools, which is great. Again, we're not maligning those. You need them. But sometimes that AI can cause what is a kind of a phenomenon called coding intensity, where if it's not governed appropriately, a lot of those claims and charges can be upcoded if you're not monitoring it. So what does that say? That says you're in the middle. As the auditor, as the billing compliance program, revenue cycle analyst, you're in the middle of that kind of battle. And you kind of need something. You need something that is evidence-backed, right-sizing this and allowing you to be defensible. And that's what our Auditor Assist can help you do. So we're going to go in and kind of show you a short demo of Auditor Assist. Again, I want to be really clear. We're not here to sell you Auditor Assist. We have worked with you for over 30 years. And we really want to we have empathy. We know what you're going through. We talk to you every day. And we want to kind of just show you a brief little kind of ditty of how we can help your life with this scrutiny. So I'm going to go in and it's going to be very quick. It's going to be about 5 minutes. And then we're going to end with some questions and follow up because I'm actually getting some good questions here. Another poll. But let's go in. And all I've done here is I've created pulled in a couple of cases that I want to audit, and I'm going to go into that case. Some of our MD audit folks are using this right now, getting some really great accuracy rates with it, but I want to expose it to those that are not part of our community as well. But what you can see here is I have a claim that's gone out with a couple of diagnosis codes and a office visit. What I'm able to do here is click this it's an icon. You don't need to worry about that, but I'm going to click that icon to use Auditor Assist. And you can see here what it's going to immediately give me is an EHR integration. That's super important. We don't want you manually importing records. That takes forever. So I can click EHR preview, and there's going to be direct integration where I can go in and grab, and this is just showing an operative note, but I'm going to have a litany of things I can grab from in my host system. And I'm going to go in and take that surgical note, and I want to preview it. So it's going to bring through direct integration into my system and load it. And I can preview it if I want, but I'm going to run Auditor Assist. Now, again, Auditor Assist is going to run, and you can see it's evaluating your record and giving recommendations. So again, what it's doing is it's looking at that operative note, that record, And it's saying, okay, we see what went out on the claim, but let's, as Auditor Assist, make some recommendations. And you can see over here in the panel, this is the note, the operative note over here, or just whatever note you bring in. But over here are suggestions that Auditor Assist is making by using AI to interrogate that documentation. And it's basically saying here that this C91.09 that was billed, it doesn't see any evidence of that in the medical record. And I've gone through this before. I have not seen that in the record. So as an auditor, you can go in and give that a green thumbs up and say, hey, I don't see it in the note either. Now, just for example, though, if you don't agree, you can actually, as an auditor, go in and say, I disagree, and also give comments as to why you disagree, because you are the subject matter expert. And we will learn from you through these comments and auditor feedback to build the AI engine even bigger and stronger. So that's just one example where we couldn't find it in the record. This one here is saying that L30.9 that was billed over here, Auditor Assist has said, retain that. We agree. We see that in the record, the mild eczema. I can even click here and find it. There it is in the note. So I'm going to agree with that as well. Now, these two plus signs are saying both the history and physical and the asthma, they need to be added. They were not billed on the claim, and they should have been. And again, quickly helping the auditor find the history and physical and the history of asthma. So for those, I'm going to add those as well. So this is just a simple rendition. But what we're doing here is we're not doing your job. You are the human in the loop. These are suggestions from AI, but you're the human in the loop making the final decision. This is helping you work faster, and it's allowing you to spend time on other cases or get to those cases where you need that true expert judgment from you. And it's not going to sacrifice the quality or thoroughness of your reviews. It's there as a suggestive AI algorithm to make your life easier. Now, this, along with helping you pull sample size automatically, that's going to give you back the time you need to get through tougher audits and plenty of time for education and corrective action. Now, one last thing I want to show about this is people get very concerned about the audit trail. Do you have an audit trail? So I'm going to save and close that, but I'm going to go back into it just to show you. If you come back in 2 weeks later because someone wants to know what you did with this claim, I can actually go and see a trail and say, okay, Dana Finnegan updated it, but the decision was actually added via Auditor Assist. So you're going to know who touched this, what decision was made by Auditor Assist, if you okayed that, if you did not okay that. So it's all at your fingertips for an excellent audit trail. So again, at the end of the day, human in the loop, but helping you become more effective and productive, frankly. I want to go back to my presentation now. We went through the demonstration. I do want to hold this up though, and I'm going to open up my screen here. What we have here, which we want you to take home, you're going to get this deck, but you can scan this code to learn more about Auditor Assist, learn more about the MD audit community. There's a video over here as well if you just want to kind of take a quick stroll of what Auditor Assist does. But that's really what we wanted to show you today. Quick 30-minute webinar. We are going to throw up another poll. And I'd like to end. I did get a question that came through that I kind of read on the fly. But I got a question that says, a lot of vendors are talking about AI, and it all seems to be the same language. What is your standpoint on this? How can this impact my work life? Well, I think we talked a little bit about that, but I want to talk about MD Audit's stance again and leave you with that, because I've gotten a couple of questions similar to this. So yeah, I'm not here to technically, go to every nuance of how this works, but at the end of the day, MD Audit's stance is if you don't keep up with the AI of the payers, it can cause crippling issues to your bottom line. So we will always help you with that AI, but we are heavy on governance for the AI that we build. We have incredibly high accuracy rates. We would not deploy this unless we had very high accuracy rates, which our clients are receiving. But most importantly, you'll always be a human in the loop. This doesn't replace your decision making. You're the subject matter expert. And I said this at the beginning, we're not here to lecture you on how to use AI, how much AI you should deploy. I talk about turbulence. We're here to help you reduce the turbulence that you're dealing with in your everyday lives. Denials, payer audits, all the education you have to do. By deploying something like this, you're going to be able to have a lot more time in those areas that you don't have time for now. I'd kind of like to leave you with that we do these monthly webinars, obviously every month. You're taking a poll so we can learn more about you in what you saw today. But please suggest anything you might want us to come back and show or talk about in future sessions. Again, we really appreciate your attendance today. We wanted to kind of do this quickly to get you back to your duties. But thank you for attending, and we hope we see you next month. And thanks again.